Hello guys, welcome to Open Techno. In today's video, we'll compare 3 popular webcams available on the market for various uses. We'll compare which records better and is more worth it for tasks like streaming, working, or content creation. After all, this allows you to see the possibilities each one offers. First, we have the Logitech C920, a camera that has been on the market for many years. A 1080p camera that is super versatile and doesn't need any kind of setup to work and give us decent quality. On the other hand, we have the Obsbot Tiny Special Edition, a camera that costs around 100 euros and has a small gimbal that allows us to adjust the camera at any time to stay centered in the frame. Perfect, for example, for meetings or for instance work conferences that we give. On the other hand, we're going to have one from Elgato, the 2nd generation Facecam. A camera that, at first glance, is made for all those content creators who want to record with a green screen, with the possibility of giving more saturation to the image or even being able to record without compression. We have 2 of them that I haven't used, that we're going to see for the first time in this video, and you'll share the first experiences with me. However, I wanted to compare these 2 cameras with the C920, which has been a camera that has accompanied me for many years when I had a desktop PC. So I won't keep you any longer and let's get straight to the table. I've already unboxed the Logitech, but I still don't know how the other 2 are packaged, so let's find out together. Let's begin with the Logitech C920, a camera I have had for a while, as evidenced by the missing box which I opened long ago. We have a 1080 sensor in the center, accompanied by 2 stereo microphones on the sides. It comes with its own stand that adjusts to all kinds of surfaces. You'll see that this is common in webcams, as it often includes an adjustment feature for the monitor. And it comes with a Logitech C920 USB cable from the back, but it's not removable. That is, the cable is already fully integrated and we can't remove it. I'd say the cable is about 1.5 meters long, which is enough. And it's been enough for me for many years to put it on top of a monitor and have it reach the desktop computer. Let's set it aside for now to test it later. And let's continue with the Osbot Tiny S, a camera that is also full high definition, 1080p. And does it come in this tiny and minimalist box you're seeing? Let's open it. At the bottom, it comes with a small instruction manual and directly the camera with the corresponding gimbal. As you can see, it's very small in size. It's even smaller than the Logitech in both length and width. So, in this aspect, although it's actually quite boxy, what is a bit elongated in the other one, this one is more square and sticks out a bit more, so to speak. It comes with a bottom part that, as you can see, can be adjusted so you can also put it on top of a monitor. And you can even screw in the typical camera tripod screw, which, by the way, I hadn't mentioned. But the Logitech also had it on the bottom, so we're seeing that it seems to be something pretty common. Then, on this one, we have 2 front microphones that are going to pick up the audio. And well, as you can see on the back, we have a USB-C port which we will use to connect a cable directly to the computer. In this case, the camera would be removable and could be transported by itself without any cables. And in this little box that comes with the OSPOT, we get the USB-C cable that we will use to connect it, but nothing else. Let's take advantage and remove the lens protector now to expose the sensor. And finally, we have the 2nd generation Elgato Facecam, which we're also going to unbox here live. As you can see, this box is a bit more complex to open, which doesn't really appeal to me because in the end it just makes it a lot more cumbersome. The cable falls out from the bottom and the instructions are here. Well, I think this is quite a bit more of a mess. The cable is very thick. It may not be necessary to have a cable this thick. After all, it's going to make running the cables and hiding them under the desk much more complicated. A cable that has USB-A on one end, which I find a bit outdated nowadays, and on the other end USB-C, which I assume is for connecting the webcam itself. And here in the center, it comes with a small paper sleeve, which is the webcam that we're going to take out and check. Oh, it even includes a sticker. Let's see, it's true that the unboxing looks pretty premium and it's really satisfying to open, but it is a bit more cumbersome than, for example, the Obsbot. Well, this, as you can see, looks much bigger. We can see electronics on the back part of the camera, something that makes it feel, well, maybe more industrial. We have the USB-C port there to connect data to the computer, and we also have a mount for the monitor. I've already told you and mentioned in advance that all of them were going to have this, and then there's the screw thread right here. So if we want to attach a tripod, would we have to remove this monitor mount first? I'm placing it on top of my monitor, so size isn't a concern. It's about as big as an analog camera flash, and the lens comes with a small manual plastic cover that we can open and close to gain privacy when we're not using this camera. However, honestly, it's a bit tricky to move this little plastic cover. Let's talk a little about the dimensions. The Logitech has 9 centimeters in width, 7 centimeters in depth, and 4 centimeters in height. Then it has a weight of 162 grams. It's going to be the heaviest, even though it might not seem like it at first, but yes, it's going to be the heaviest. The Osbot, for instance, weighs a mere 94 grams. That's a substantial difference already. And it's about 5 centimeters long and wide, while its height is around 6.5 centimeters approximately. However, the lightest one is going to be the Cat's, the second generation Facecam, which even though it's the biggest and the bulkiest, so to speak, is actually the lightest. It only weighs 90 grams and has a length of 8 centimeters, 4 centimeters wide, and 3 centimeters high. Well, those are dimensions that make it look bulky, apparently, but honestly it's not bad at all when it comes to weight, length, and so on. I haven't mentioned it, but all of them are mostly made of plastic except for the Osbot, which does feel like some parts could be metal. I'm not completely sure, and I don't want to force it either. Well, this gimbal, but for example, the one that gives me the best sense of quality would be the Osbot. Partly, as I said, because of this gimbal, which honestly gives a sense of quality. And then the support on the bottom part, which really is made of metal, although it's a very, very light metal. But it makes, for example, this hinge look pretty sturdy. It's a little bit magnetized, and then, well, the one with the cat is very plasticky, honestly. Generally, the best looking one isn't the best. As mentioned, you can see the electronics here, which I dislike, but it's used for heat dissipation. And the Logitech, well, it's a very office-like design, very plain, very 2010. I mean, it already has a design that looks a bit older, but in any case, it's very functional. Let's compare the performance of the 4 cameras, including the MacBook Pro's built-in camera. Although it's always with us, the MacBook's camera won't provide the best resolution among the 4. I'm telling you in advance, but still, hey, it's always there. It doesn't take up any space at all. And for online recordings or calls on FaceTime, Skype, or Teams, it's really, really good. First, let's discuss viewing angles. Logitech and Osbot offer a viewing angle of 78 degrees. You'll see that the Elgato, which has an 84-degree field of view, gives us a much more peripheral view. You can practically see the whole bed, right? While with the Logitech and the Osbot, you can't. I'll also point out that all the cameras record in 1080p, including the MacBooks, even though it has the worst resolution in terms of visual quality. And then, all of them have a microphone except for the Elgato, because the Elgato is professionally made to add an external microphone. As you can see, things are already happening here. Now let's discuss frames. We have 30 on the Logitech and on the MacBook Pro, while on the Elgato we have 60, and on the Osbot we go up to 100 or 120. Depends on how we set it up. Let's compare the quality a bit. For me, the MacBook Pro is the worst. However, it gets the job done and has good colors, which is something I would highlight because the Logitech C920 has better resolution, but the colors are unrealistic, they're very cold. As you can see, the wall looks really blue, I look really blue. Then there's a middle ground, the Osmo Tiny Special Edition. A camera that gives us a decent resolution, because in the end, all this content we're going to create will be shared online. And I think the quality is more than good. If it were for cinema, well, you'd need more, but it's a very balanced quality if we want something better. By the way, I haven't mentioned it, the colors are really good and this turned out pretty dramatic. Did that effect look cool? Okay, I've closed zoom. Please explain how everything works. However, the cat is the one with the best resolution. For example, if I get closer, you'll see all my eyelashes. On the other hand, we have a resolution, sorry, a very good one, but the colors are dull and they need some post-processing. However, I would highlight that the Osbot is a camera, for example, for an individual who wants plug and play to connect it, and the Elgato version is designed for professionals, offering more settings and higher quality, but requires tweaking. However, this one works instantly. It's not for everyone. Now you're already seeing more or less the resolutions, let's see how it looks. For example, if I bring the phone closer to the computer screen, let's start with the MacBook, which does it super well. I was surprised that it focuses very well. For example, the phone, if we want to show it later, for example, the Logitech, well, it does it worse. Here you can already see, for example, that it takes longer to focus, but ultimately does it well. It captured the image clearly, allowing the screen to be shown effectively. Osbot Tiny, wait, my phone is turning off. You will see that it takes a little more effort to focus. Maybe there it finally got it and it looks pretty good. And finally, the one with the cat, which seems like it can't focus at close distances. It really likes to focus here at a medium distance, but if we get too close, the phone doesn't focus properly. Yes, the letters are difficult to read. For normal lighting conditions, the winner is the Osbot, the one with the cat. It would require putting a light behind us to give us much better quality, but well, with that lighting. However, let's do a test. I'm going to turn off the light in my room and let's see how it looks. Are you already seeing anything here? The cat one looks good, the Osbot looks very good. Even the MacBook, well, we can be seen quite clearly. The Logitech, in low light conditions, completely loses it. Now let's give it a little bit of lighting. What happens if I leave my computer's wallpaper on? Well, as you can see, the cat one lights up almost the entire room. It gives off a lot of light, and before it seemed like it was darker. The Osbot does pretty well, it holds up fine, but these two have somewhat reddish colors, the MacBook one. I'm surprised that it handles the white balance very well. And even though the quality is bad, we look really good. Like, you can see us perfectly and we could make a call just fine, with almost no light at all. The Logitech, well, you can start to see us, but no surprises there. And now we move on to talk a little bit about the software, which is quite important. Because the Osbot Tiny Special Edition with that gimbal it has is capable of tracking using artificial intelligence. And certain things that you had already been seeing, it just happened again. I'll explain everything now. The Osbot Tiny Special Edition's first feature is gestures. For example, you can activate or deactivate tracking using gestures, as seen now with tracking activated. Here on the screen, we can put the palm of our hand up and you'll see that tracking deactivates automatically. I'm going to activate it again with the same gesture. The palm of the hand and it activates again. Now we make an L with our fingers. It zooms in on our face to give the scene more drama. Or do we just want it to focus really close on us? Since we're discussing on a live stream and want to highlight a particular point, here it is. Now we want to zoom out, we press L again and it zooms out very smoothly. We also have a manual zoom that we can do with both hands, and we can enlarge or reduce the image completely to our liking. Now we're going to see that we can do all of this manually. In the Osbot Center software, an application that helps us both update the firmware and control all the Osbot cameras. We could have multiple for a live broadcast. Alright, first thing, I have activated this virtual camera here, which allows us to send all the modifications we make to the image in real time to the computer. If I turn this off, would we see the image without this zoom, without the tracking, just the raw image from the camera? So, always activate this virtual camera, which will allow you to send that image to a video call or whatever, with all the effects you add. Now we can track the upper part of the body, we can make a slightly closer shot, and sometimes this isn't very noticeable. Well, here, for example, you can definitely see a closer shot. We can make it follow the middle part of our body, that is, without the head, which works really well if, for example, we want to be playing the guitar or something like that. So for this part of the body, you can see it up there on the big screen, and then the lower part of the body, which would be from the waist down. So, hey, if we want to show something here with our hands or some kind of craft or whatever, we would show it there. Now it also tracks our hands. As you can see, I have both hands here and it's able to track them from one side to the other. It's tracking my left hand. Moving my right hand does nothing, but moving my left hand does. This camera with the gimbal does move to follow my left hand. Okay, I'll lower them. And let's grab the phone because this can be really useful. For example, if we want to do a tutorial with the phone or show something down here. In fact, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And as you can see, I could show you the phone here, do an unboxing or anything like that. Because the camera is going to keep following my left hand the whole time. And well, if I hide it behind the phone, maybe it won't detect it as well. As you can see, it closely follows my hand movements, which can be useful in various scenarios. This artificial intelligence detection is really cool. I remove the zoom and then I turn off the hand tracking and I set it back to normal tracking. Alternatively, we can enable features like high dynamic range and focus. Now I've set it to global because otherwise it would only focus on the face. It depends on the scenes we're going to shoot. The auto exposure feature allows for a slight offset to make the image a bit brighter or darker. For me, it works well automatically. White balance and a few other image settings, for example, if we want a little more saturation, we can adjust it directly from here. On the other hand, any other good settings, like what do we want to do when the device goes to sleep? If we want a background to appear, if we want to disable hand controls, if we want the microphone to always stay on or not, if we want noise reduction, the image like a mirror, meaning that it's flipped, or for example, updating the firmware version. Then we have a section where we can add effects to our face so that we can be seen well with colors and so on. It can retouch us and make our face a little sharper. This, well, can be nice. Honestly, I don't like it. I like everything to be natural and we can just add the blur directly from here. On the other hand, the Cat app works in a very similar way, although it's much simpler. We simply have the option to zoom in and out, those 84 degrees of vision I mentioned before, and even have presets. I'm going to leave it completely open. We can adjust image settings like saturation, contrast, and exposure in the same way. Personally, I like to make it brighter, because it comes here at 50%, which is pretty dark. This camera is designed for full control over color, white balance, and noise reduction. Then we have a section for effects that you can add, but as I said, I don't really like them. And here I'm going to show you a small image of each of the cameras. In this case, I'm testing the Osbot. You're also listening to the Osbot's microphone, so you can see how it performs. If we only had this camera and no external microphone or anything else at all, this would be the quality and this would be the audio with the camera on top of the monitor. This is the quality of the Logitech C920, which, as you can see, has cooler colors. Here we have the whole bed completely overexposed. And well, you're also hearing my audio from a reasonable distance, with a 32-inch monitor and the camera placed on top of the monitor. So I have well about 60 centimeters easily between my face and the microphones, so you can also see how it sounds and how it looks separately. On the other hand, do you know about the MacBook? It has the typical quality you'd expect from a device used for FaceTime with relatives. Anyway, the camera, as we've already mentioned, is nothing special, but the microphone, for example, I really like how it sounds. It picks up the audio really well. And finally, here you can see the quality of Elgato's camera, a quality that is really good in terms of image. Can you see it? The hand movements are very smooth at 60 frames per second and the colors look great, just slightly muted. Maybe we need a lookup table to give it that nicer streamer style, or some LEDs, some neon lights, something to add color to the image, because right now it looks a bit dull. But it's true that this one doesn't have audio. The audio you're hearing is from the MacBook Pro that I have right here below. And we're wrapping up this comparison by talking about the price of each of these cameras. After all, it's a crucial aspect too. Did you roughly see what each is used for? The MacBook camera, well, hey, it's built in. We already have it, it works for us and gets us through any situation. The Logitech C920 is a very affordable entry-level camera by today's standards. It's been around for many years, it's worked for me for a long time, but we have to give it perfect lighting conditions to get good quality from it. As you've seen, the colors aren't realistic, so what's happening? We can get it for about 50 or 60 euros, maybe even less, maybe second-hand. That's around the price, but it's a discontinued camera model. It's no longer sold. On the other hand, we have the Elgato Facecam and the Osbot Tiny Special Edition, two cameras that I wouldn't say compete, because I really think they're aimed at completely different audiences. They have a very similar price, around $150 or $100. So what's going on? That the Osbot Tiny Special Edition is a plug-and-play camera. You just plug it in, it works well, it has good quality, gives us good focus, nice colors, and it has all those artificial intelligence features that work really well. While the Cat's camera is aimed at professional people. As you've noticed, the device lacks a microphone and the colors aren't great out of the box, requiring adjustments. So, at that point you have to be the ones to decide. For me, the Osbot Tiny S is a really well balanced camera, and it will serve us for a very long time due to its quality and the dynamic range and possibilities it offers through software. That said, I encourage you to write down in the description which camera fits best into your daily life. Which one would you buy? If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, leave a like and see you next time. Goodbye.